European treaties define the details of how the European Union functions. It is their provisions that set the boundaries between what is decided by Brussels and what is the exclusive domain of member states. If the planned changes to the treaties are adopted, then member states will lose decision-making power in many areas, including foreign and security policy. The changes also propose that Brussels also take control of national finances, with the euro becoming a mandatory currency. Although the introduction of the changes is currently being blocked by some member states, MEPs from the Civic Platform and the left are in favor. Strengthening the European Union, a very dynamic international situation, and also the question of expanding the European Union to include new member states, such as Ukraine, in the future. The idea is that the EU should make key decisions, for example in the case of imposing sanctions on Russia more quickly. Of course, this treaty change is a melody of the future for now. We don't know anything about whether it can be done, because I remind you that the unanimity rule is still in force for the time being. Introducing reforms to the EU treaties would mean abolishing the right of veto. Brussels bureaucrats would also gain a powerful leverage tool in the form of discretionary withdrawal of EU funds. Such a mechanism has been used against Poland, among others, by blocking funds from the Reconstruction Fund. But this is currently not covered by EU law. Based on the treaties that were negotiated at great length, it was established that we would be united in diversity and that the EU would be a union of sovereign and independent states. Areas for cooperation and competencies were indicated, which are exclusive competencies of the EU, and also the right of veto was indicated, and we must guard this right of veto.
Jak również wskazane zostało prawo weta i my musimy tego prawa weta strzec.
Advocates of change stress that the treaties should be updated and adapted to the current situation in Europe, and that defining a common foreign and security policy, adopting sanctions, and deciding on taxes are in the interest of the community.
Jestem zwolennikiem pozostawienia decyzji w wielu aspektach.
I am in favor of leaving decisions in many aspects to national countries, but I also see that the world is changing and more integration is needed when it comes to, for example, the economy, medical care, European border protection, and social policy.
Ochronę granic europejskich.
In a large part of the European elite, there is a belief that nation-states are already passé, that it is necessary to create a state somewhat along the lines of the United States, differently organized, of course, with different values, but that there is a need in Europe for a central authority in order to organize the life of Europeans on the continent.
Organizować życie Europejczyków na kontynencie.
The introduction of the amendments will also make it possible to pass the Migration Pact directives while the current parliamentary term is still in session. Currently, implementation of the resolution is prevented by the principle of unanimity. Former Slovenian Prime Minister Janez Janša says that the pressure of mass illegal immigration is radically destroying the existing way of life in the Union and strengthening terrorist enclaves in European metropolises. The recent incursion of Palestinian terrorists into Israel has once again confirmed how important it is for a nation to be well and legally armed. The proposals for change are based on a European Parliament report prepared by a German-French expert group. It is France and Germany that control the EU because of the qualified majority they have. France and Germany are convinced that a partial institutional reform of the EU, including the abolition of the veto on votes in the EU Council, will be possible this year. The first call for reform, as conceived by Paris and Berlin in May 2022, was torpedoed by 13 countries, including Poland.